All right. Hi, everybody. Strat J. Davis here, writer at the Societal Scope. But today I'm doing something a little different. I'm going to delve into baseball history. With me today is former major leaguer Billy Sample. He played for the Texas Rangers, New York Yankees, and the Atlanta Braves. And he's nice enough to join me. Thank you for being here, Mr. Sample. How are you doing today?
Thanks, Stratton. It sounds like it's going to be fun already. So looking forward to regaling and trying to tap into my memory bank of anecdotes that may or may not be exciting or interesting, but I'll throw them out there and see where we go.
Hell, all of it's interesting to me. So wanted to start off because one thing I found very interesting about you was as a kid, I loved the movie Remember the Titans, and you actually played in the game that, the movie ends on. So it got me thinking, though, were you more of a football guy when you were younger?
I think I was a little better of a football player, but there are not many people in Salem, Virginia that are old enough to remember, so I can get away with that. But the only thing that really depicted us, Andrew Lewis High School out of Salem, Virginia, was that the game was played in Roanoke, Virginia, which is a bigger city and big airlines and all that. And in fact, that's where I was born, in Roanoke. Grew up for the most part in Salem, but born in Roanoke. Because they beat us right-handedly. It's kind of hard to Hollywood up a 27-0 score.
Yeah,
we were both 12-0 going into that game, and we scored an early touchdown that was called back and mounted no offense after that. And I relive that game sometimes, maybe because of the movie. I'd probably rather forget it. I was a wide receiver, and in the previous game that we won 26-20, beating Douglas Freeman High School in Richmond. Not that I remember things from 53 years ago like that, but I had 7 catches for 112 yards and a touchdown in that victory. In the game that really mattered, remember the Titans game? Caught one pass, they called it back. That was it. I was shut out. Both defensive backs they were on me like glue. And it was one of the first times that I remember hand fighting, because generally nobody was close enough to me to be able to slap my hands like that. But that was going to be an adjustment that I was going to have to deal with. But I thought maybe I would go to some school and play football and baseball. But actually, I knew around age 15, Stratton, that if I was going to play something professionally, that it was probably going to be baseball. And it turned out that way. I was a 28th round draft pick out of high school. The late, great Joe Branzell, the scout that drafted me, could hear when they finally found me. We were in Myrtle Beach. Some of the guys, the athletes, we were all going together for our graduation trip. And when they found me at day 2 of the draft, Bill, this is Joe Branzell of the Texas Rangers. We drafted you in the 28th round. He could hear my disappointment. He said, "Well, Bill," at the time there were 24 teams. "Well, Bill, 23 other teams passed over you 27 times." As if to say, don't blame us for drafting you. So I didn't sign, but I went to what became James Madison, which was an all-female institution up until about 3 or 4 years before I got there. And Brad Babcock, the late Brad Babcock, was our coach and a great recruiter. In fact, I was talking to somebody recently that I had 6 teammates sign pro contracts from a baseball program that wasn't 5 years old. So he did a really good job. I had one teammate, Todd Winterfeld, out of Seaford, New York, that played AAA ball in the Mets organization. 2 players that played AA ball, J.W. Mitchell, our shortstop, and Jim Barber, our first baseman, with the Cubs and Rangers, respectively. Mike Lacasse, who was our third baseman, was a teammate of Cal Ripken Jr.'s in the minors, and Roger Lee and Tim Simonis also played A ball. And this was just from one group of players. So we did well for not having a program that long. But playing in the Shenandoah Valley League, I think, really helped me. That was the collegiate league in the summer. You have the Cape Cod League and the Alaska League and the Shenandoah Valley League. And that's where I think I really got a chance to measure my abilities against other players growing up. And in fact, the first year that I played in the Valley League, I had 3 teammates that made it to the major leagues. Oh, geez, I'm losing it now. Jim Pankovitz, our third baseman, Dave Tobick, a pitcher, and Gene Richards, who could low fly. I mean, oh my goodness, could he fly? And he had the National League record for stolen bases by a rookie until Tim Raines came and broke it a couple of years later. He came up with the Padres, that Gene. And so this is the kind of caliber that I can measure myself up against and playing against guys like this too. So after my third year in college, I was drafted again, this time in the 10th round, and I signed and made it to the majors. Let's see, that was 1976, 77, 70. Came up at the end of the 1978 season. I probably should have come up to the 1977 season, but somewhere in Double-A ball, I took an 0 for 37. Nobody you know is ever going to take an 0 for 37. I went 11 consecutive games without a hit. And still managed to hit 348, but still, it cost me a chance to go up that year. So the next year, I didn't get tired and played a solid rest of the year and ended up third in the league in hitting. And when Rich Donnelly, my manager, who coached a lot in the big leagues, came up and told me, maybe with about 3 days left in the season, that I was going up, I said, thank you. It didn't surprise me. I figured I did all that I had to do to get to the majors, because I was only going to give it 2 or 3 or 4 years. I'm not a lifer. I appreciate the game. I love its history, but I'm not dirt under the fingernails kind of guy that was going to be there forever. So it turned out okay. So I got a base hit on my first pitch, and it was downhill after that.
Well, I wouldn't say downhill. You had a hell of a career. But when you came up, your first manager, and he wasn't your manager for long, was Billy Hunter. And I mean, you had Pat Corrales at the end of that season for what, 1 game? So what was that like to be in the midst of that when you got called up?
Well, Billy just left us. He was, I think, 96 when he died. I think he died maybe 3 weeks ago. And
wow.
Yeah. So so we finished our AAA season. We're playing out of Tucson. I was playing out of Tucson. So you catch the morning flight, Tucson to Phoenix, Phoenix to Chicago, Chicago to Milwaukee. We're meeting the team in Milwaukee. And so by the time you get there, you're just kind of dragging. Even for young people, you're kind of dragging. And I walk in, the lineup card was up, and it had Sample leading off and 4 beside my name. And I thought, well, I figured I was going to play. I didn't know if thought I was going to play the first day that I got up there, but we were 5.5 games behind. Who won it that year? 78.
Was it the Royals?
Kansas City. Yeah, the Royals. Yeah, we're 5.5 games behind them. So okay, that's fine. Okay, I'm leading off to get ready. But what alarmed me was that it had 4 beside my name, 4 being second base, and I signed as a second baseman. I played outfield in college and in the Valley League. Signed as a second baseman because I thought it would help my chances of signing being an infielder as opposed to an outfielder. I think I still have the Texas League AA record for most errors by a second baseman. So they figured that my bat would precede my glove to the major. So they put me back out in the outfield. And that's how I came up. But when I saw 4 beside my name, I thought, I don't think I have an infielder's glove. I burned that somewhere in the past. And so I remember telling Paul Hagen, the sports writer, who covered the Rangers back then and later with the Phillies, and I kind of tugged on him and said, does Mr. Hunter know I no longer play second base? And so we go through, nobody tells me anything. I'm figuring, okay, I'm going to have an outfielder's glove at second base. I don't know, and I'm scared to death. I had that disease that Steve Sachs had and Chuck Knobloch where you throw one away and then you can't.
The yips.
And I was a psychology major, which meant that I wasn't a very good one. So we were running before the game, and I remember Richie Zisk coming up to me in a rather avuncular way and saying it's just like AAA. And I thought, okay. And I really wasn't that nervous about it. I was a little concerned about playing second base, but I wasn't nervous about leading off. And maybe with about 10 minutes left before game time, Billy Hunter did call me over, and he said, this is what is happening. They felt that Bump Wills, the second baseman, the switch hitting second baseman, was struggling a little bit from his right side. So they wanted to give him one less at bat from the right side. No matter what I did, Bump was going to go in the game for defense. Okay, fine. All right. Well, I can live with that one. So I lead off the game. First pitch, Jerry Augustine, sort of a sinker, might have been a strike on the outside part of the plate. I drove into right center, and somehow Sixto Lescano got a glove on it. I don't know what is he doing out there. And so anyway, for a base hit, so I'm there with my Cheshire cat eating grin on first base and like that. And here comes Bump to pitch run for me. My day's over. I have no idea what Bob Uecker thought was going on. The broadcaster with the bird. So that's how it started, and it was a pretty good start. Unfortunately we didn't win the game, and we didn't close within. I don't think we closed within 5 games of Kansas City. But towards the end of the year, I'm getting a few hits, and I get on the bus in Seattle, and Billy Hunter sits what's normally just the coach's seat, which is diagonally across from the bus driver, and he points the seat beside him for me to sit down beside him. And Billy goes through all as he sees the subsequent year to be position-wise, and Jim Sundberg's obviously going to catch, and he's going by position. And Johnny Grubb and he had his platooning in left field. I thought, oh, this sounds good. I don't have anything else to prove in AAA. The next day, they fired Billy Hunter. And that's the kind of luck I have. That's the kind of buzzard's luck that I have. But so that's why Pat had that one day, and Billy was gone after that. But he went with a winning record. There might have been some other stuff that was going on behind the scenes, but I appreciate his confidence in me for such a short amount of time that I had been in the big leagues.
Yeah, I've read a little bit about those late 70s teams for the Rangers. I haven't read much on them in recent years, but I always found it kind of shocking, how they got rid of Billy Hunter, especially because it seemed like the players liked him. And my next question then was like, how did, you had Pat Corrales for that one game in the 78 season, and you're going into 79 with him. What was the feeling amongst the players about that?
About Pat specifically? I think we just react to things. You feel, and I've unfortunately had 8 managers in a little over a year, so I'm used to seeing them come and go. I wasn't there enough for Billy to know exactly what had transpired. I heard some things in passing, but it certainly wasn't, I don't think, anything that he didn't do as a manager. There might have been some other things behind the scenes that I'm not exactly sure. And my goodness, back in the day, the Texas Rangers, it was an interesting front office. They were very interesting. We had, I'll fast forward a little bit, but in 1979, in the middle of the year, they traded for Mickey Rivers, and which is a good trade. Mickey could still play. Mick the Quick. Yeah, he could still play. But the Rangers did something incorrect in the transaction where they tried to trade players who hadn't cleared waivers. So they were penalized for that. And there were some players to be named later that were going to go to the Yankees. And evidently, Oscar Gamble was one of those players at the end of the year, even though he was our leading hitter and just a great clubhouse presence. So that's one, just why. There are some others too. One year, and the Rangers kind of a regional team, so people would come in from, I don't know, out west, Lubbock, or maybe not that far, but a lot of people come from different places. And sometimes back in the day, they would pack a lunch or something, like if they had kids and stuff, and that was allowed. Well, they decided one year, I think it was in 1982, that they were no longer going to allow people to bring food and beverages into the stadium, which, okay, that's your prerogative. But evidently the word didn't get out to everybody. So this one particular lady was with her family. They confiscated her cooler. She could pick it up after the game, I guess. And then she went to her seat. And I guess at some point she felt that this wasn't right. So she went to the somewhere in the front office to complain, or customer service to complain. And when she walked by the gate where she came in, the guards who had taken the ticket takers who had taken her food were eating it. And that was just like, oh my goodness, he's talking about bad publicity, a bad look, a bad optic. Yeah, that was some of the moves that happened. And I wouldn't even get into trading Ron Darling, your first round pick the year before, and Walt Terrell for Lee Mazzilli, and then Lee, you don't keep Lee longer than August. Just some of
Yeah.
the stuff. It's like, oh my goodness. It's bad enough sometimes when you have to play the people across the diamond, but you're fighting against the people that are making the decisions too. So that was kind of Texas Rangers baseball back then. It's a
Yeah,
lot.
I don't know too much about the guy who's the owner then, Corbett, but
Brad
I
Corbett,
know he
yeah.
was good friends with Doc Ellis, and
Yeah.
I thought
Well,
that
Doc,
was
yeah, Doc had his ear. Yeah, Doc might have been. I don't know. Doc might have been behind some of the Billy Hunter stuff. I don't know. But Doc was. Doc liked me. In fact, Doc was the first person that spoke to me when I came in to the clubhouse that time. When I said I walked in and lineup card sample leading off, and I thought, well, my first thought was maybe this is a trick lineup they're just putting up to just to mess with the rookies. And then Doc said, "Good luck, young man." Oh, we're serious now. Oh, okay. All right. Well, all right. Let's go then. And Doc was quite the character. He was, but again, Doc and I got along well. He was, but he was. In fact, when he got traded from the Rangers to the Mets, they called the clubhouse phone. He picked up. I guess they told him he was traded, and he'd get his stuff and take off. He turned around and said, "Sample, you coming with me?" No, Doc, I'm good. No, I'm good. I hadn't heard a word. I'm not getting near the phone. But he was quite a character. He was, in fact, the Rangers we had a lot of just interesting characters. It was, if you had a shy and withdrawn kind of personality, you wouldn't have lasted there. It
yeah.
was tough. It was like a, a mean fraternity. Not mean in the sense that we're fighting mean, but just the bus ride from the tarmac at the airport to the hotel. Most places it's 45 minutes, 50 minutes or so. That could be the most brutal 45 and 50 minutes you had ever spent when players started getting on each other. Oh,
Who
mm.
was the hardest?
Oh, not everybody. It didn't matter.
Everybody.
I would try to be quiet. And somewhere with about 5 minutes left before you got to the hotel. We hadn't forgotten about you, Sample. Oh no, here it comes. Oh, usually with stuff that you did on the field, and the kangaroo court could be vicious too, but a lot of fun. It was set up for fun. And if you went to the to appeal a case and you lost and it was double damages or something like that, it was fun. The money saved, the money acquired was given to charities or team party or something like that. But the whole thing, you'd have the judges and you would plead a case and you knew you weren't going to win. So it was very seldom did you get a credit for doing anything well. And most of it was baseball related kind of stuff. But every once in a while you'd get one if you tripped coming out of the batter's box and that was embarrassing the team. So that was $10 or $15 or something like that. It was good fun.
Well, I want to go back real quick to you coming up because one of the guys you came up with, I've been kind of learning about more recently, but the original Dr. Death, Danny Darwin. Did y'all play with each other in the minors?
Yes, AA and AAA. Yeah.
So what was that like to get to come up with him? Because from what I've understood, he's a very underrated guy, and it's even cooler to me that he came up after being undrafted and lasting so long in the MLB.
Yeah. What do you have about 20 years or 20?
Yeah,
He was there
I
for
think
a long time.
1998 with the White Sox is when he ended it.
Oh, geez. Yeah. Cowboy was, he was tough. He was tough on some right-handers because When he looked kind of wild coming up anyway, especially in the minors. His hair was going every which way, and he's slinging from about 3/4 a little bit. You drop his arm angle. That was pretty much his arm angle. They had a two-seamer that ran in on right-handed hitters a lot, and not shy about it. If you objected to a pitch that you thought was close, on the next one it might be closer. And if you wanted to come out and discuss it, he'd meet you halfway so you wouldn't get tired. He was kind of tough like that. Danny was, but yeah, he pitched forever. My goodness. And in fact, Danny and I and Pat Putnam on our prospects card.
Yeah.
And he's a great signer too. He signs everything, and so it's a good card for people to have. But now you can find Pat almost anywhere. It used to be for years that you couldn't find Pat to sign that card, but now I see a lot of the cards that are sent to me. Pat has already signed them, so that's a good card to have. And Danny, as we said, pitched forever, but yeah, he could be tough on some right-handers. Oh, you could see from the outfield sometimes right-handers would sort of open up early because they were having trouble seeing the pitch coming to them. And again, because he ran that two-seamer in on their hands, it might be start out on the plate, and by the time you commit, it'd be on your hands, and he could be tough. And a slider with some bite to it and some depth to it as well. So that was a good guy to come up with. I had some good teammates to come up with me, and we had good young personnel there. We just never seemed to get over the hump when I was in Texas, but we had good personnel, I think.
Who was your favorite dude to have on the mound whenever you were on the Rangers?
Well, let me give you a story. 1983, Rick Honeyut, who came up in the Pirate system, was traded to Seattle, and then was with us in 82, I think, 82, and one of the smartest people, SAT smart people that you'd ever meet in the game. And he was our only all-star representative in 1983. Just sinker was just bottoming out against guys. And I think he was something like 13-7 at the break. ERA was around 2. And we were in first place in 1983 for 40 days, but ended up not even playing 500 balls, which is kind of odd. But so we fell behind. The White Sox made their run, and they made a pretty good run. Floyd Bannister was pitching well for them. They had Lamar Hoyt. They had Richard Dodson.
Yeah.
Dodson, yeah. Britt Burns. They had a good staff. And so we had a 4-game series at home. I think we were 8 games out. So we would have had to win 3 out of 4 to bring it to within 6. And then we still have a race. This was probably early, mid-August. And we walk in, had a doubleheader the first night, and Honeyut was scheduled to pitch the first game of the doubleheader. And I walk in, and his locker's cleaned out. I thought, that's cute. A little icebreaker. No, they were serious. He was gone. They traded him to the Dodgers for, Dave Stewart and Ricky Wright, left-handed pitcher out of University of Texas. And at that point, you realize that your team is your seller now. So, and it kind of took a little of the air out of the balloon, I think. And that was it was tough sometimes when you realize that winning's not the most important thing. But you have to make good business decisions, and that was one that they felt they had to make. And then we ended up losing 3 out of 4, so then we're out of it for good at that point. But and I've had Hall of Famer Fergie Jenkins. My goodness gracious! Even at the end of his career, he was still tremendous control. One of the few pitchers that had over 3,000 strikeouts and less than 1,000 walks. Just he could hit a gnat on the outside corner. Just tremendous. So there are a lot of pitchers, but it comes and goes. But the way Honeyut was throwing that year, you felt good about having him on the mound. And anytime you can get a good closer, I think you feel good because you want to win the games that you have the lead.
Yeah.
And in 1979, Jim Kern was the Rolaids relief winner, and the great Emu, he was he, he was different, and but he could get you out. I tell him all the time that I still remember the time that the game was on the line. Wayne Gross at the plate. A's have the bases loaded, 2 out, 3-2 pitch, and he throws him a palm ball for strike three. It just for a guy who throws 98 over the top. And I thought from the outfield, but that's the kind of verve you have to have, I guess, when you're pitching like that. And Jim was not shy of any of that kind of intestinal fortitude.
Well, still staying on the topic of your teammates, there's one guy I noticed you spent some time with. I think it would have been 1979, but I didn't even realize he was a Ranger, and I doubt most Rangers fans realize he ever was either. But what was Bud Harelson like?
Got another anecdote for Bud, and a great guy off the field, and we've lost Bud not too long ago.
Yeah.
As well. So we're in Anaheim, bases loaded, 1 out. Bud's batting from the left side. He was a switch hitter. Bud's batting from the left side. Bud was. And 3-2 count. And they gave him the bunt, like a squeeze bunt. The pitch was high, Bud took it for what he thought was ball 4, but was called strike 3. So the runner coming in from third is just tagged out. It was just the easiest double play you'd ever seen. You've heard people say you can watch a baseball game every day and see something different every day.
Yeah.
That's one of those that I
Exactly.
hadn't seen before. I haven't seen since. It's just one of those you're going, your mouth just dropped. Like, you remember the time? You've seen the video of Dale Bear and Bobby Meacham getting thrown out at the plate at the same time. Carlton Fisk's tagging both of them at the same time. You've got to see
I
that.
haven't. No, I haven't.
No. Okay. It was 1985 with the Yankees and White Sox. Ricky Henderson's at the plate. Let's see. Dale, who did he tag out first? Let's see. I forget which sequence. Yeah, because Bobby went back to tag, so Bobby must have been in front. All right, yeah, that was it. So Ricky Anderson hits the drive to left center. Meacham's at second. Bear's at first. It's on a line. Meacham can tell that the ball's the center fielder might catch it, so he goes back to tag at second. Bear can't see from his angle that the outfielder doesn't have a chance. I'm really messing this up, but anyway, so Meacham goes back to tag. Bear comes back. Bear goes to second. Meacham slips as he's getting off the bag at second. So now they're within maybe 2 strides from each other. The ball's in the gap. The center fielder retrieves it, throws it to the cutoff. Cutoff makes a great throw to the plate. Fisk tags Meacham, spins around, and here comes Bear, and he spins around and tags him too. And Gene Michael, a great baseball scout and former shortstop, I don't know what he was doing at third base, but I don't know if he's trying to stop one but it was just, it would have been funny if we had won the game, but we lost by a run in extra innings, and it's just like, that's another one where you can watch the game forever and not see something like that happen. But that was on the play where Fisk, you'll see it. You just put it in the search engine, you'll see it, where Fisk tags Meacham, spins around and tags Bear. And before the start of the game, if you had said, okay, this is what's going to happen today. You're going to have 2 runners thrown out on the same play at the plate. What 2 people do you think? I would say probably 50% of the people would say, oh, yeah, it's got to be Bobby Meacham and Dale Bear. But that was, oh, my goodness.
That's funny hearing that, because now Bobby Meacham is the manager for the Double-A team of the Rockies.
Yeah,
And,
yeah.
and I mean, when you say that, I'm like, that doesn't sound like how a manager would play. And kind of leads me to my next question because
Oh,
now that
he
you
was
mentioned,
he's a sweetheart of a guy, Bobby and Gary Meacham. They're just what a great couple. Yeah, but they had a tendency to be. There was another one that Meacham was involved in. What was it? It was in Arlington. Yankees playing the Rangers. I'm with the Yankees at this point, and there's a fly ball to the left. The wind kind of gets a hold to it. Willie Randolph goes back to tag because he has a good view of the ball. And then he goes back to tag, but Bobby's looking at it and he's running. Anyway, he doesn't see that Willie went back to tag. He passes Willie,
oh,
which makes him out. So I think he got like a 3-run single or something out of it. It was just like, oh my goodness. Again, you can watch it every day and see something different.
well, whenever you play with guys like, well, maybe not Bobby Meacham at the time, but guys like Bud Harrelson, who were later on in their career, when you talk to them, did you ever, when they became managers, did that surprise you? Or like, are there guys that you talk to and oh, okay, he knows the game. He could sit there and teach it. He could sit there and run this. Or were you able to know that before they ever even got the job?
That's a good question. There were a couple of teammates I did have that I didn't realize that they were either managerial material or wanted to be managers. And I think Buddy Bell was one of those that and Buddy knew the game very well. I just didn't picture Buddy. My goodness, what a treat it was to be a teammate of his for the time, especially he's winning all those gold gloves in front of me, making all those plays. But I guess it just didn't dawn on me that he wanted to be a manager. Bobby Jones, left-handed hitting outfielder. I didn't realize that he was going to be a manager, but evidently he was good and coaching with the Rangers for a number of years as well. Yeah, there's probably somebody else out there. I understand your question. Somebody else out there and catchers usually are managers because they have to be involved in every play, and they see the field and see all the players. So it seems to me that a lot of the good managers have been catchers. But those are the two that I think, oh, okay, well, I didn't see that, but it wasn't that I was trying to analyze it or anything. I just thought, oh, okay, well, now that makes sense. Or especially now I look back on Buddy and his son David was a manager, and with his dad being in the game, his dad Gus being in the game as well, it made sense that he would have absorbed all of that kind of baseball knowledge to be a manager and to have his son. Yeah.
Yeah. And well, Buddy Bell, I mean, to me, he's a very unappreciated person, not just in Rangers history, but all throughout baseball history. I could be wrong on this, but like if you look at advanced stats, I think he has the highest rating of WAR for a third baseman not in the Hall of Fame.
Oh, really? Oh, good for him.
And there's two guys that actually, well, they were traded for each other, Toby Hall and Buddy Bell. And I think there's a Hall of Fame argument to be made for both. But are there any teammates you had or guys you played against that you can't believe that, aren't in the Hall of Fame?
Well, Buddy, that's good to know about Buddy because he was just a pleasure what a great teammate. Again, if you were polling 25 players who played with him and say who are some of your favorite teammates, I imagine he's in everybody's top 2 or 3. He was really good people. And Toby and I were traded for each other too. Toby came up with the Washington Senators actually, who became the Rangers and was traded to the. When did he go to Cleveland? Yeah, Cleveland, and then he was traded back to Texas before the '85 season, and I was traded from Texas to the Yankees where he had been, and there was a player to be named later too. So Toby was a tremendous athlete. I got a Toby anecdote that he can't really admit to, but so we're playing. I'm with the Yankees. We're playing at Yankee Stadium, hosting the Rangers. Rangers right-hander want to say his first name was Glenn, but I don't remember. Hit a couple of Yankee players. Didn't mean to, but you hit them hard with hard sliders. Now, that's one of the beauties about baseball is that it is subjective. What I might think is okay, you may not think is okay, and that's margin is going to cross at some point. So a couple of the Yankees get hit hard. So what do? Do you just let it go? Do you flip somebody? Do you say, okay, I know he didn't mean to do it, but this is the big leagues and I can't have you hurting my players? That kind of question you have to ask yourself. So anyway, I don't know whether they had a verbal conversation about it or not, but Joe Cowley's on the mound. And Joe throws Curtis Wilkerson, the Rangers shortstop, first pitch strike. Generally, that means whatever it could be is not going to happen. But the second pitch, he hit him in the head. So I was like, okay, well, I don't know. Then it's up to the Rangers to react. Are they going to react now or not? And Toby, I don't know how. This is what a great West Virginia athlete Toby is. He chopped the ball off the plate far enough that the catcher couldn't field it, not far enough for the first baseman to field it. And in slow motion, you could see that he took a step out of the baseline to do this. But the pitcher, Cowley, came to field it. And he stepped and elbowed in the face and broke his nose. And I just watched them going, wow, that was pretty good. How did he, just to have that come together like that, to be able to do that? And again, you could tell in slow motion that he went out of the baseline to do it. But then he went through the whole charade of calling Billy Martin, who was the manager at that time for the Rangers. And he had played under Billy when Billy Martin was managing in Texas. And he gave the whole, whatever he said. I'm just a competitor, and it just happened and didn't mean anything by it. I don't know whether Billy believed it or not, but you want to try to make an attempt to justify it, because you don't want somebody, they might have a pitch ready for you at some point that you're not aware of. So, but for Toby to do that, I still think that was one of the better things I've seen athletically on the field. But to be able to do that, to be able to take a sinker moving in on you and hitting the ball that way, and to get that kind of result or reply to the Wilkerson getting hit in the head.
Really quick, my internet, it's running low, so if this crashes out at any point, sorry, but that's
what you have an editor for.
Work with. So I do want to ask you though about the 1981 season. Why did the 1981 strike happen? Because that's honestly something I don't know much about, but I also don't think most baseball fans my age know about it. Because everyone focused on the 94 strike.
Yeah, it was about compensation for free agency. And the owners wanted to make it the penalty, the compensation for a free agent so high that it would discourage players from being free agents. If I go out and okay, I've reached 6 years or whatever the qualification was, and I'm a free agent, and yet if a team signs me, they've got to give up either somebody of my ilk or maybe even somebody a little better, then they're not going to bid on you. And this is essentially what it was about. And it lasted about as long as the owner's strike insurance lasted. They went to Lloyd's of London and got strike insurance. It was funny how close they came to negotiating as their strike money was running out. And sure enough, there was an offer on the table. And then one player, prominent player, I think it was with the Dodgers, had said something. And then the owners pulled the offer back, thinking that maybe some other players would come and say, look, we're tired of this. We're losing our money. And not that Kurt Flood didn't go through changes for you, or Andy Messersmith or Dave McNally went through their changes for you. And but then nobody else, I think Marvin Miller, who was my deity, got in touch with the guy and said, look, this is what's happening here. And so the only thing they offered it was cost us a few days, but we got everything in retrospect, so it was okay. But the owners were convinced that was what they were going to try, and I guess it doesn't hurt. They could try it, but we were kind of unified over something like that. And I was a two-stop from home good Union man anyway, so um, I encourage players to remind them that some people took some hard stands for them to be in a position to make what we thought was a little money back then. And we don't even tell you. I tell people, Stratton, I tell people my first contract, rookie contract, the minimum salary was $21,000. So after taxes, you were taking home 18. That was in the majors.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
And the
yeah,
cost of living wasn't much better then than it was now. So it's not. And
no,
now,
I know
minimum salary now
very
is
well.
760-ish, or somewhere in that range. 760,000. And the last time I looked, it might be a little bit more now, but the last time I looked, it was 760,000. You can make a living off 760,000 after taxes. You figure you're playing. I don't know. You're receiving maybe five something. You can make a living off 500,000 or something. You can't make a living off 18,000. So, yeah. So
because like one fun thing I did a while back was like where I work and what I make. I was comparing my salary to guys who played in your day and farther back, and adjusting it for inflation. And it's crazy that I'm making more money than those guys did.
Yeah.
And what it's made me realize is that like a lot of the media, sports media, especially at the time, they were working in conjunction with the owners who funded the media to make y'all look like crybabies when y'all talked about how much you weren't getting paid. And it's a lot of BS. And
it's a tough stand to take, but somebody had to take it. And I got a little dismayed when I had other members of the fraternity, and they would always, you could count on them siding with ownership no matter what it was. And I'm not saying I'd go out of my way to elbow some catcher that was blocking the plate in the face, but it's just one of those things every once in a while. But yeah, I was, as I said, I was too staunch for my own good, but it's good now. Maybe the pendulum has swung. A lot of people feel too much, but I'm glad to see that players don't have to find income in the off season, that they can work on their craft year round in theory. And I think the athleticism that I see is just an indication of just how well the game is now and how well compensated the players are and how well they put out a very impressive product.
Did you ever have to find work in the off season?
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Well, what kind of work
I didn't make enough, Stratton. I didn't make enough money until my third year in salary that I didn't have to find income in the off season. Yeah.
So like, what kind of work would you do around Texas?
Well, I didn't work so much in Texas. I went to winter ball a couple of years, and I had to go back to school for a couple of years. And one time, my spouse had worked at a shelter for battered women, making $500 a month, and that got us through the winter. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, another thing I want to ask about coming up in Arlington at that time, because I'm also a big Dallas Cowboys fan, and I've read a lot of books from players around that time. And guys like Tony Dorsett, who were, making it big while you were making your debut, they talk about facing racism in Arlington at that time, and it being hard to be a black player for a Texas professional team. So did you ever have to face anything like that, whether it was coming up through the minor leagues or whenever you got to Texas?
Well, I had a white spouse, so it was, I 3.5 years of mostly harassing. You get death threats and that kind of thing. But I think black to white was probably different than white to black. Dan Gladding, I was just looking it up the other night. Dan Gladding had married a black woman in was with the Giants before he got up to the major leagues, actually. And I don't know if he had any problems. I'm guessing most of it was black on white. Rod Carew, ex-wife Marilyn, they married in 1970. I think Ben Ogilvy also had a white wife. So I don't know whether Ben, I thought I heard that Ben had a little trouble too, but I doubt if anybody had as much as I did. But right after it was over, it's like, okay, well, now you see interracial couples, mixed couples, TV commercials, and so it's no big deal. But back then, it was a big deal. But then it was 1980, and somebody had canceled. I was getting married, and somebody had canceled the wedding and canceled the flowers and canceled the whole 9 yards part of it. It was in Charlottesville, Virginia, and now looking back on it, it was like, okay, but it was. I hadn't heard of anybody going through what I had gone through, but nowadays I don't think anybody goes through that, which is good. People have grown up. And I didn't say much about it at the time because I met so many beautiful people in Arlington that I didn't want to paint the area any way at all. But we had to do things like, and this is before cell phones, of course. I would have to leave a series of names to because somebody would call the hotel. Let's say I'm in Seattle, they call the hotel and said your wife's in the hospital. All right, and so you okay, what's happening? And so then I would leave a list of names before the road trip that if she left one of those names, then I knew that it was from her. But if it's anybody else, and I knew it was harassing again. So it got harassing. And then sometimes I think they had a connection with somebody with the club because they knew when we were getting in and when they must have had an itinerary somewhere. But it's so good now to see that everybody can get along and everybody can be with whoever they want to be without any hassle. But it was just one of those things. You live.
Well, it's
I never worried about it for me because I'm too out in the open to worry about somebody taking a shot at me. Okay, well, you're gonna kill me? Oh, fine. Sports writers been killing me all year. Get it over with. But I'm sorry.
Well, you are a real professional personality, and I got to give you a lot of kudos for that because I mean you're just a very kind guy, and I really dig you, Mr.
Oh, well, Stratton, thank you. That's nice of you to say. I can fool some of the people all the time, but it was. If anything, I thought it made me more determined not to have that. If left on our own volition, maybe if the desire was to break us up, then they probably should have just left us alone. but when I kept doing these things, I'm like, and in the end of it, I realized, and we had the FBI come out, and we had all the whole 9 yards of that. In the end, it dawned on me that somebody was listening to my phone calls, but I didn't, because they had come out and put a trap on the line. I figured, okay, well, it can't be that. And at the very end, they made some noise with the phone when it was like I was talking to them on the phone, and I thought, geez, how slow can I be? They probably thought too, how slow can you be? And then after a while, they stopped. And I said, nowadays, I haven't heard anybody having any problems. Or any direction that it goes, I haven't heard anybody have any problems. And that's the way it should be.
Well, with my internet going out, I'm afraid I'm going to have to end this earlier than I hoped. But I would like to end it on a happy note. So I'll just plainly ask you, what was your favorite memory as a Texas Ranger? I know you've mentioned in the past hitting a walk-off home run for him, but well, like, what was your just favorite memory just being there in the moment with your teammates and like the feelings you got there and everything?
Well, I guess I like a lot of people. You're trying not to get too high or too low. Oh, I got one, which not exactly answering your question, but so one day we're hosting the Orioles in Arlington, and finished sitting in the cage, and Brooks Robinson, the great Hall of Fame Oriole, at this point he's retired. He's part of the broadcast crew. So I'm hitting the cage, and you come and you try to get a feel if you can get an anecdote or two from a player that you can use in the broadcast. I knew how the game was played. And so he comes up to me and he says something exceptionally complimentary about my game. And I'm thinking, you must not be working all these games, because you've seen some of these swings I've had against Flanagan or Palmer or who else? Storm Davis. Just, ooh. And so I finished my swings, run on the bases, come back, take my second turn. And he's still at it. He's still telling me, oh, yeah. And I'm thinking, well, maybe it is hot out here, and it is Texas, and it may have gotten to him near the heat or something, because he keeps complimenting my game. And for the life of me, I can't remember any serious damage that I did against the Orioles to deserve such a plaudit from such a great player. So finally I turned to him and I said, Brooks, I'm so popular that my grandmother-in-law can't find baseball cards of me. The next time we see the Orioles, he hands me a stack of my baseball cards. And I thought, wow. I still get chills about that.
I got chills just hearing it. That's crazy.
Boy, jeez. That would be nice if Joe Greenfly fan did something like that. But this is, as I said, Brooks bleeping Robinson. He hands me a stack of my baseball cards. I start to get chills thinking about that. It's just what a tremendous player he was, and a person. What a tremendous person. Yeah. So yeah.
Well, that's a real cool story to end on, and I hope we can talk again soon, and I can do even longer interview next time. But thank you so much. This has been awesome. And I'll make sure whenever it's out and everything, I'll send it your way. And hopefully I can try to get it out tomorrow. I'll probably work on that a lot during this weekend. And I'll send you another email here in a bit, because I did want to send you my other writings. But that's it for now.
Yeah, we're kind of kindred in a lot of places.
Yes, sir.
Yes,
sir.
Right.
So I'll send that your way actually here in just a minute.
Oh, okay. Great talking to you.
Great talking to you, Mr. Sample. You have a great rest of your night.
Okay, you too.
Bye.
Bye-bye.